after an underground nightclub raid in Colorado Springs. Our Denver 7 Investigates team was at the scene early.
It started as a whisper, a rumor, moving through the law enforcement channels of Colorado. There was a nightclub. No one would admit it existed, but everyone in certain circles seemed to know about it. You wouldn't find it on Google Maps. It never ran an ad, and yet, every weekend, it was packed, wall to wall, with bodies, bass, and a whole lot of cash. A place that lived in the pulse of the city and the shadows right beneath it. For months, federal agents tracked the whispers. Fights in the parking lot, unmarked vans pulling up at 2 a.m., people stumbling out, messed up on substances, no legal bar cells, women being led away through side doors. And the guys working the line, they didn't look like bouncers. They looked like soldiers. And then they got the one detail that changed everything. 17 active duty military members tied to the club. 8 of them allegedly serving as security. That revelation hit the investigation like a depth charge. This wasn't just an illegal nightclub anymore. This was something bigger. Something that smelled of infiltration, of organized crime, operating right in the heart of Colorado Springs. A city defined by its military bases. A city built on uniforms, discipline, and service. At 2:56 on a Sunday morning, the order came through. More than 300 officers from over 10 different agencies pulled down their visors, chambered rounds, and did a final radio check. The target was a stretch of South Academy Boulevard, still alive with late-night traffic. Those drivers had no idea they were about to witness one of the largest club raids the region had ever seen. At 3 sharp, the convoy rolled. Black SUVs, tactical vans, marked units racing ahead to seal off intersections. A helicopter overhead, its searchlight painting the rooftops with a silent, sweeping warning. Inside one of those vehicles was a DEA team leader with 20 years spent dismantling drug networks, and even she would admit later she'd never seen a military component like this. 17 active duty service members, 8 of them on the doors, some wearing tactical gear, their earpieces more advanced than the club's own security. That one detail turned a routine sweep into a national security concern. As they closed in, the place looked deceptively normal. Just another concrete box in a strip of late-night businesses. Neon sign, music bleeding through the walls, a line of people shivering in the cold. But the surveillance teams knew better. They'd been watching. They'd logged over 170 calls for service in a year. They had reports of drugs sold openly on the dance floor. Neighbors complaining of nightly fights, vandalism, gunshots. The public was in the dark. At 3-1, the command was given. It was fast, brutally efficient. Tactical units hit the main doors and they just disappeared. The music died, leaving only screams and the stomp of boots. Flashlights cut through the smoky air. Voices shouting, "Hands up, get on the ground, now." The shock inside was total. Hundreds of people froze mid-dance. Some ran, some hid. Some were just too drunk or too scared to move. In minutes, every exit was blocked, every hallway secured, and then the headcount began. And the agents doing it were stunned. 115 detainees. Pulled out in waves, hands tied with zip ties, lined up on the sidewalk under the cold lights. But the most jarring discovery wasn't the number, it was the uniforms. 17 military members, 8 confirmed as working security. And that changed everything. Agents found them at the doors, controlling who got in, who got searched. Others were stationed in back hallways where the real business, the prostitution and the drug deals, was going down. Some had military issue gear, others carried civilian pistols they had no business carrying off duty. Their presence had made the club feel like a fortress. A patron would later tell investigators, if the military is guarding it, it must be protected. That illusion shattered the moment federal agents marched those same soldiers out in handcuffs. Just after 4:10, I started screening for legal status. And what they found confirmed the investigators' worst suspicions. This wasn't a local crowd. Of the 115 detained, 105 were here illegally. The list of countries of origin spanned the hemisphere: Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela. This was a convergence point, an international hub They pulled 2 fugitives out of the crowd, men wanted for violent crimes in other states. One tried to slip out a back hole. Another tried to stash a weapon under a vending machine, not knowing every inch of the place was being recorded. Deeper inside, they found the evidence they knew was there. Makeshift brothels, bags of narcotics stashed under the DJ booth, a hidden cash-counting room guarded by 2 armed men. But one detail stuck with the investigators more than anything. This club was a ghost. For a year, it had bounced around Colorado Springs every time the heat got too close. And every time, the crowd came back bigger than before. That cycle ended tonight. By sunrise, the street was a mess. Spent zip ties, broken glass, discarded glow sticks from the dance floor. The club's doors hung open, the lights still flashing on and off, illuminating nothing but empty space and little yellow evidence markers. Federal officials briefed the press, and their tone left no room for doubt. This was not about a rowdy bar. This was the takedown of a criminal hub, a gathering point for trafficking, drugs, fugitives, illegal guns, and an unprecedented breach of the US military. The question now hanging over this city and the country is a simple one. How deep does the corruption go? Military investigators were on scene within hours. Their focus wasn't just what times those soldiers were doing, but who times recruited them. Asterisk, who times paid them. Was this a one-off or the sign of a much larger problem festering on bases across the region? The DEA isn't ruling out cartel involvement. These networks actively target military personnel for off-the-books work. They leverage their training, their discipline, in exchange for money, for favors. And if this club is any indication, those networks have taken root a lot closer to home than anyone wanted to believe. The nightclub was just a symptom. The real target is the network behind it. The one that can mobilize workers from 9 different countries, recruit American soldiers as muscle, harbor fugitives, and operate in the open for months. They're calling it Operation Night Pulse. And the agents involved will tell you this was just the first strike. As one federal commander put it, before he left the scene, this wasn't about shutting down a club. This was about sending a message to every trafficker, every recruiter, every corrupt gatekeeper. Your hiding places are shrinking. For Colorado Springs, a city that wears its military pride on its sleeve, the raid was a shock to the system. Neighbors woke up to helicopters, blocked streets, and headlines that felt like they were from somewhere else. 17 soldiers, 115 detainees, 300 officers, 9 countries, 2 captured fugitives, 1 criminal hub destroyed. But the agents on the ground, they know the real score. This isn't over. The interrogations are just beginning. The phones they seized will be cracked open, the money will be traced, every lead will be followed right to the top. Because for the agencies involved, this wasn't about nightlife. It wasn't about immigration. It wasn't even about 17 embarrassed soldiers. This was about organized crime trying to sink its roots into a city built on discipline and service. And tonight, federal law enforcement just tore the whole damn roof off.